Actually, wait, no.
There you go.
Let's actually no. Let's do a full.
Let's do an invasion of the.
Let's do a full invasion of B Scotch and Dots here.
There's a fucking fantastic amount of souls here. So,
He's too distracted.
My hubris! Why was I talking? I should have shut up. I should have shut up. I should have just did it. I should have just done it. God damn it! Welcome to Demon Souls, everybody.
All right, clink clang,
Clink clang.
clink clank. I'm gonna shoot this way a little full.
Clink and
So
clink
full.
and clink and and we're just swiping across. And yep, there we go, right back.
It's like a credit card. Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I, of course, am
like a credit card.
The Jester at Metcalf. Along to my right,
Handsome John.
adjusting his headset, and of course to the left.
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
And we are here to talk to you about the very cool tech news as well as the very nerdy video game news. But before we start, there is a PSA I want to get out there very quickly so that everyone is aware. Cyberpunk 2077 is dropping this week. By the time you watch this video, you are more than likely being diving into it. It appears that there have been individuals who have suffered from epileptic seizures that have been given seizures by playing this game. So please make sure you take care, understand the precautions before you go into this game. Maybe change some settings in your monitor or whatever TV that you're working or playing on that game to ensure this not happening. CD Projekt Red is working on updating their warnings as well as trying to do some other things, but it'll take some time. So this way you are aware now before you start the game.
Most games come with these warnings nowadays.
Most games do. This one did not. So that was kind of surprising.
I say you live on the edge and you just go with it.
They're living in the future. They're living in
Have a buddy.
2077. They don't worry about epileptic seizures. So they just kind of move on. Anywho, I do want to talk about the fact that we cannot discuss everything that happened this week. We can't talk about the fact that Fortnite has added bounties, The Mandalorian, and Kratos, of all things. That's not PlayStation exclusive, by the way. You can play Kratos on any console.
That's
and your
crazy.
mobile phone and your PC, which is crazy. Also don't have time to talk to you about how the PlayStation Vita owners have been suffering with the PlayStation Store on the handheld. I checked mine recently. It seemed to be working fine, but others are not. And I'm very terrified they're going to take away all my games. And we also don't have time
If it happens,
to
Sean
discuss
owes
the
me
fact
money.
that PAX is... PAX is apparent. No, I don't want to talk about PAX. I actually want to mention that Oscar Isaac is reportedly playing Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid film.
The Metal Gear
But-
Solid film that's been in the works for 20 years.
Shut the fuck up. We do have time to discuss what we like to call on this very show each and every week as we gather together under this very wonderful umbrella of Strange Gaming with the purple and the green lights behind us. So
hallelujah.
great in this holiday festive season. Next week I'm wearing a Santa hat, maybe if I could find one. What
I've
we
got my
call
Yoda
this
Santa hat at the
very
ready.
show. The important shit.
The important shit.
You talk about me backing up my microphone, motherfucker. You
I do what I want.
I do think it's time for Handsome John to talk to us about why all these people are going to be super excited to get PS5s in their living room on this Christmas day.
It's because of gangs in the UK that you're going to be able to get a PS5, apparently.
Santa's wearing a very different hat this year.
That's so important because you got to fight the gangs.
No, because they're going to be selling them, where apparently Target and them will just like hold it in the back and like keep them for days just so they can trickle them out whenever they feel like it. I feel like they're using the PS5s, by the way, as like a marketing tool to get people to come to their website and be like, oh, and by the way, I have to buy something else. And it's like, just come back tomorrow and we're going to have more in stock. Anyway, the cool thing about this is the fact that it's like Fast and the Furious, but in real life and with way less capable people, most likely. So I can imagine it's a technique that they use called the rollover. It involves multiple cars and they like block you in like you would see in Fast and the Furious, and they're trying to slow down the vehicle so that way a person who's attached to the car with a rope gets onto the truck and is able to empty and essentially toss things into the other car that they want to keep out of the truck. And then they peel out and move out. And apparently
really
this has
hope-
happened multiple times this year, and it's happening at an accelerated rate.
I
Huh.
hope it's actually Vin Diesel. Like he's been so cooped up in his house because of COVID.
No.
He
What
actually
was
had to go.
who was the actor that played the other guy? It was Super Sketch
Right. Walker? What?
or Sketch of Brian the entire time from the first one.
Oh, he hasn't been involved in a while. It's okay.
I know, but I'm just saying
Yeah. That'd have been fine.
because that was the whole point of this. Like theft and all of that stuff has mostly been the first Fast and Furious, but.
Well, I just found it very interesting because they're gonna have to try to sell these things, and these shippers know what the serial numbers were of what they had. So Sony's gonna know that these units have been stolen. So I don't know if they're gonna do anything to these units that get bought, secondhand, with people not knowing they were stolen. Don't really know how that's gonna go, but at the same time, I think it's freaking hilarious. I wish they took video of it. I hope it leaks on the internet or something of them doing one of these rollout raids because I think that would be freaking hilarious.
I don't know if hilarious is the word I'd use for. While this is entertaining,
Let's
we
put
are
it this
joking
way.
about
I
it.
believe there will be bloopers.
Okay. I feel bad for people who are trying to actually work with these retailers on a regular basis because not only do they have to deal with scalpers on the internet, they now have to deal with fucking Mad Max in the countryside when they're trying to get a PS5. They just want a PS5 for little Timmy or little Janet.
Suddenly you're going to see armed or like APVs and whatnot following trucks of PS5s and Xbox Series X's, just like you don't want to fuck with this.
Well,
like
you think about it, it's the least secure part of any shipment is you can follow an Amazon person anywhere you wanted to and pretty much raid their van. What are they going to do? Call the cops, but you're gone by the time they get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, of course, cops are telling them like change your routes, pay close attention. And I think what they're going to start doing is do high security deliveries if it gets bad enough, towards they have security following these vans that do high end deliveries for things like TV, which I think they should do. First of all, within a city, you will have only so many high end level things that you would deliver, and that security would probably be not messed up in transit nearly as much, and because everything would be going specifically from one route to the security travel route. And then but other than changing your routes, I don't know what else you could really do to secure that, because truckers apparently have been dealing with this stuff with all the time. I just don't know.
Yep.
You look at some trucks and they're literally all they have is a little tag, and it's mostly food stuff that tag's for, is to prove that it hasn't been tampered since it was locked in the trailer. That's what those are for. Yeah. So if those ever get broke, that entire shipment gets rejected and the hauler is held responsible, which is insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, generally though, if you're talking about electronics getting stolen, from a truck, the general sign of, that happening is the fact that the electronics are not in the truck. I don't think they're worried about a tamper seal quite that much, but like they're going to need better solutions. If that's what they want to do, like not that this is really
that they were the reason that the PS5s that were being delivered with bricks and stuff in them was because of them. And I'm like, I don't think they're returning the boxes just to screw.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're putting the boxes back on in this heist.
I don't think they care quite as much to troll you like that, but sure.
But
I'm pretty sure that's the guy at your local GameStop, Best Buy, or whatever electronic store selling it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like the kids at the store go, they'll never notice until it's too late. It's like,
John, I just want you to think about
this. Idiot.
Yeah, seriously. You and I have driven on Irish roads, which are not necessarily the same as UK roads, but it is a similar mindset in the sense of like, this is old country, so we're just going to put roads wherever there were cart paths. So I want to know how this heist goes down, because those roads are tiny and very hard to navigate.
Like I'm saying, it was Fast and the Furious level precision driving, because you have to remember they're getting boxed in too. So they're taking up both sides of the road. Like there's no, they have to be, there are freeways in places, obviously. So, or what do they call them? We call them freeways.
A routes?
No.
I don't know. Whatever they call them. If you're British, you can write in. You can leave a comment below. Mark's mustache.
Motorway.
That way he'll speak it next episode. Next episode, not this episode.
This really wasn't newsworthy, but at the same time, it was the most
next time.
thing that I read so far this week.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's one other news article we could have talked about, but it didn't happen till like literally right before the podcast.
Which
so
one was that?
We can talk about it later.
Well,
We
just
leave
tell me
we
now.
leave the audience in suspense.
Okay. Maybe we can talk
Hopefully
about it
they can figure out a better way to handle this though, because again, already people are having issues. Like we've talked about it before on this show. As a I won't say a final wave, but another wave of stock went out today online, both at PlayStation's own direct as well as other retailers, and they were out like that. Like while this is funny, it's also awful for anybody who is attempting to get a hold of one of these devices because like good fucking luck. Again,
Yeah.
Mad Max and then cyber criminals are keeping you from
Mad Max
having your
and
precious
bots.
PS5. Yeah. So the past and the future, or the future in two different distorted ways, is keeping you from playing your PS5, which really sucks because we talked about how incredible it is on this show.
Well, it just goes. It's like we watch science fiction movies, and this shit keeps getting more and more like prophetic dreams, like robots and AI and all this other stuff. Oh, hell will never actually
Yeah.
exist. Oh, yeah, actually, we made one, and now all of a sudden, we watch it Fast and the Furious, and they're stealing car parts on the back of trailers, and well, now they're stealing PS5s on the back of trailers.
I really do hope that they're just blaring ludicrous blah poof poof poof. Yo, Mark, you're gonna have to block that section because I was so on key that we're gonna get a DMCA takedown. And we've also talked about how terrible those are.
Exactly how that's
So
going to work.
bad.
Also the wrong platform, but sure.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, true. That's true too.
Please let us know what you think about the PS5 heist happening. Are you part of it? We'd love to interview you. I'm not joking. If you are part of it, I will interview you anonymously just to have you on.
We'll just throw your voice on there and some random image of something,
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you. Yeah.
Who was that
Best yet,
Irish
I could
band that
use
you
this
like that
new
wore the
Joker
paper bags
painting.
over their head?
What?
Who was that Irish band that we were listening to? I got a horse outside. What was that? The Rubber Band Gang? or something?
It's the Rubber Band.
I hope it's
not
them,
gang.
and I hope they like make a
Rubber
music video of
Banders.
them doing this. Ah, that's right.
Rubber Band Man.
Rubber Band.
I hope you watch them like doing this on like a music video or something. It'd be hilarious.
That is correct. Yes,
What?
with their plastic bags on their face. The Rubber Bandits. That's it.
Mm.
Man, AFA would be so upset with us.
Aw.
But now I think it's time to move on to
What
our.
the fuck am I looking at?
I've got a
man.
horse outside.
that one actually broke me. Oh man.
Like,
Anyways,
oh my
I think it's
God.
time to move on to our next topic, Mark, which is your topic. So if you want to calm down, please, this is a children's show, less swearing, and move on to your topic talking about what the fuck is Amazon Sidewalk?
Of course. Oh, Amazon Sidewalk. Oh God, this is probably one of the worst programs I think that that Amazon's come out with for some of its electronic devices. So most of the stuff that it produces, anyway, from Amazon specific Echo devices as well as Ring devices, all are generally equipped with Bluetooth 4 or 5, which includes Bluetooth Low Energy or BLE. Which allows like anonymous devices sort of to communicate with each other without officially revealing who the hell they are unless there's an approved communication there. And the idea is that it's much more passive than it is active. But there is an active aspect to it once they sort of communicate properly with each other or authenticate with each other to some extent. So Amazon Sidewalk is apparently supposed to be a program that Amazon's rolling out that allows Ring and Amazon devices to communicate with each other over Bluetooth Low Energy for full data communication of that device. So if you have a light with a motion sensor, for example, as part of your Ring Home, but let's say you don't have the bridge close enough to actually give the one all the way out at your mailbox connectivity. If the guy across the street happens to also have Ring and Nest devices, they can bridge and piggyback that connection across and use the other guy's home internet connection to trigger the information from that light's motion sensor and that light. It's just using your neighbor's home internet connectivity for, your own personal benefit to some extent.
Yeah.
Now,
Also, whatever
It's super scary.
defenses they have or don't have,
like, Well, so like Amazon's claim on this anyway is that it's completely encrypted end to end here from the device, no matter how many hops anyway. Like the device in between has no idea what the communication from the first device was, and it's supposed to be very encrypted as far as the way that it communicates. But this is like a giant violation of my data, my privacy, and what I pay for my home internet connectivity.
Well, especially because it's an opt-out feature. It's not an opt-in feature.
So that's what I was going to get to was you don't have to turn this on. You have to turn it off.
Correct.
They turn it on by default.
You put this in our document here, and I immediately was like, let me check my Amazon Alexa app to make sure all of this is turned off, because no, I don't want that to
this is some next level like bullshittery they're trying to pull here.
It's not
like in the sense like, and I understand the
has Amazon Alexa and you're just constantly walking around like you're on Wi-Fi.
Well, the example you gave, Mark, is one that I would argue is reasonable when we're talking about this whole thing. Like, why would you do this? That makes sense. The argument I heard originally when they started pitching this was, hey, if your internet goes out, you can walk over to your neighbors to use their Alexa to talk to yours. And I was like, still no, that's not something I want.
I mean, I'm not necessarily sure how that would work. I mean, like it would mean necessarily like if you had the connectivity bridge of all the hops in between, that your Ring alarm system might be able to use your neighbor's internet connection if yours goes out to maintain its internet connectivity. Like that's still scary.
Yeah.
And Amazon's claim here is like, oh, well, don't worry about it. You know, like it helps improve the reliability of the connection. And the big claim here anyway is like, oh, well, it doesn't use anything more than 500 megabytes per month that you would have to worry about.
When we're going into data caps on local internet.
Well, that's what they were saying. This was only going to amount to a small amount of data max usage that you could have off of your internet.
I mean, sure, for people who have like 1 terabit data caps or no data cap, sure. Like you may not actually give a crap because most of you have gigabit Ethernet connections or fiber connections and don't really have to worry about that. But for the people who have 300 megabit and 100 megabit or less connections through Spectrum, particularly being the worst offender of this, and who was the other one?
Windstream.
Comcast was pretty bad about it. Windstream, I think, is an AT&T company, isn't it?
No.
But regardless, like if you're going through some of those other services anyway, for example, and you have only.
Windstream's an AT&T company, and their internet is that much shittier than AT&T.
No, I don't think they're an AT&T company. I'm about to research that.
I forget who they're owned by.
Not that I mean to bar the podcast from progressing, but if that's the case, Windstream.
But
they're Little Rock, Arkansas, Windstream Holdings Incorporated.
Okay, yeah. So they're a fucking Clinton company.
A what?
Oh wow. Okay.
Clinton company. It was a joke because they're from Arkansas. Come on, folks.
I was like, what does that even mean?
No.
Ooh, wow.
The joke was that the only thing that we would remember from Arkansas is the Clintons. I said it. Come on, Arkansas, fight me.
With all 4.
Anywho, like I guess I get their claim of like, okay, this just adds like more connectivity for your devices so that, you know, like you don't necessarily have to install bridge upon bridge upon bridge to get it out there, but it's your device. You're supposed to figure out how to get it to connect. If your Wi-Fi at home is shitty, that doesn't necessarily mean that your neighbor has to pick up the slack because you're too terrible at doing it.
Without knowing.
Like if you want to put a ring light at the end of a mile-long driveway at your mailbox at the front, your neighbor across the street from your driveway shouldn't have to pick up that connection. That should be your responsibility.
Not only that, can you imagine how
get out of here?
Where they're like, I'm just going to take a ring, like something or other, right? It doesn't even matter. Like I'm an Echo Dot. I'm going to hide it in a bush, in a box, a mile down the road. I'm just going to carry off of everyone's internet to connect to me so they all have to use their internet.
Well, God. You have to understand, like it's So everything, if I remember correctly from reading this article, everything is encrypted on both sides. You can't see what they're seeing, and they can't see what your side is seeing. So
I mean,
it's a
like
pass through is all it is, and it's a limited
Yeah.
amount of data pass through. Problem is if it's not as secure as they say, which wouldn't be the first time this year that
Yeah.
this has happened. Thank you, Zoom.
I
Not
mean,
only-
it's
Not
well,
only that,
and
like, sorry, I was just gonna say, I don't care how minimal the internet is. Again, we're talking about these corporations are about to roll out data caps for everyone. We, the three of us here, have hobbies that are high internet intensive. That 500 megabits per month is enough to put you over when you're talking about trying to download games, stream video, whatever the case may be. Like, I don't want anybody using my internet because they couldn't figure out how to set up their Ring fucking doorbell. Like, I don't want that shit, or camera, or whatever the case may be. And the fact
Yeah.
that I, as a consumer, are wrapped into it automatically without being able to be informed. Like, thank God we talked about this and that we keep up with tech stuff, because I have not heard nor been informed
No.
by Amazon, period. About
Not
it.
yet. No, not once.
now, and my understanding was that there was supposed to be a set of information that went out about it, but it was something as simple as an email.
Yeah.
That was it.
And to be fair, like, sure, their terms probably say that they don't have to give you notification about this, but it's still a giant breach of my expectations, I guess, of the device.
It's another
and
vulnerability that you
whether
didn't know you had.
whether those expectations are misguided or not. Whenever, because we use Ring devices here at the house anyway for lights that go out to the pathways and the alarm system here and whatnot. But it's still definitely something that I wouldn't probably have opted in from the beginning with if I had known that this was a possibility and something that they would have implemented.
Mhm.
Period. Like that option that it's turned on at all. Well, okay, if it's an opt-in feature, knowing myself from a software development perspective, what prevents you from resetting that change that I make 6 months down the line from now?
100%.
Through an
100%.
update or
Like
something.
there's literally nothing that prevents Amazon from saying, yeah, there's a ton of people that opted out. We're just going to make a change to our terms of service that says, as of this date, it's been reset. You have to opt back out again.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to tell them no? Nobody.
No.
Like, and that's the problem. You're giving them essentially all the control in this. And at least they're coming out and saying, yes, this is what the feature is. This is sure it's secure. And this is the most amount of data that we're using of your connectivity. So, you don't really have to worry about it. And they're trying to throw it under the bus like that. But I'll give them credit for at least coming out and saying it. But I'll take away that credit again for making an opt-out scenario.
Yeah.
I understand where they were going with this, so it makes it easier for, if you wanted to put up cameras in your trees or something, I can understand. It's like, oh, well, your neighbors will pick up the Wi-Fi when yours doesn't reach or something like that.
To me, that still sounds shady and shitty. Like, that still should be your responsibility to bring your own Wi-Fi, bring
think
your own
they're
Z-Wave
looking for
connection
ease
out there,
of
whatever,
use.
to make that work.
They're looking for ease of use for other people not to run into more issues with using their
Or-
devices.
Or get something that's actual commercial grade and run a wire out there. Like, that, it's really not that bad.
Whoa. Look, man, this is 2020. We use Bluetooths and dumpster fires. That's it.
Yeah.
And other people's internet.
And other people's
apparently.
internet. Yeah, exactly. Got to piggyback off it. No, I mean,
Christ.
I think I don't think there's a really, in my personal sphere, like, I would never want to use this feature, nor would I want anybody near me using it. Like, I can't imagine a space where I'm like, this is totally cool. I like my neighbors. They're super sweet people. I don't think they do anything malicious. I still don't want them piggybacking off my internet. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Are you kidding me? Like, I do business on internet. I do pleasure on internet. I do a lot of things on the internet that I would rather the majority of the population not know about.
But they're
And
not.
while
It's
I-
encrypted so they can't see that. Or notice they would see the mountains of porn you have
Yeah.
downloaded. every day.
Until it's not, or they lie about it in the same way that Zoom did. Like,
So-
I don't trust that encryption right now. I trust Amazon's encryption from my house to their device. I bought the device. I've lived under the pretense that they will take care of me in that way. I don't
Yeah.
want to have a second hurdle onto that of someone else's device and their house.
I don't like the
Yeah.
fact that that microphone's not turned off unless I literally say the name that I need for it to activate. Like it's just a weird feeling that I know that that microphone is always listening at all times. And to be honest, there's
Yeah,
been a
there's
couple
one-
of times I've almost gotten rid of it just because it's giving me that much of anxiety.
And it's
Hmm.
right over there, over your shoulder, over your left shoulder.
Yeah.
It actually
I've
is
got-
like it's just that way further down. He's got one in there.
I'll say I've got one back over my shoulder that way, and then there's another one like in the next room on the other side of the hallway,
That's why
and then
I
there's like 3 of them
masturbate in front of
downstairs, and
I make sure that if they want to look, they're gonna have to look at me. My
Sounds like
Oh
my
my
don't
God.
worry,
It's in
don't worry,
my
don't worry. That
chair.
camera you're using to record right now, the NSA's already seen it 1,000 times. So,
Google safe search off.
but I actually had to look this up
Sorry, catch
because
up.
we have
Safe search
because I
off.
have the Ring app, we have Ring devices and all that stuff. And Sidewalk is actually an option that they show in the app as far as what the interest looks like in it and the fact that this is a coming soon thing. And then they go ahead and tell you what kind of devices are capable of it. Now, the nice thing for, you know, for me anyway, is that none of those devices are devices that we currently use, like
Nice.
at all. So that works out.
Is the show
But
on there?
I would definitely, if you are a user of Ring devices, I would go ahead into your settings.
Amazon devices in general, because it's true for Echo and all these other things as
Right.
well, not just the Ring. I actually had to go in. I checked last
Yep.
week. It was not available. This week it was available. I had to disable it.
Yeah, I don't have the Echo app on here, or the Amazon Echo app on here, because we don't have Echo devices. But if you're on the Ring app, it's under Control Center. Once you go into Control Center, you'll scroll down just a touch there. Let me see if I can find it so I don't have to show you. Once you get down into the community control, anyway, Amazon Sidewalk sits there as the third item. And then for now, anyway, you'll see that the item or the Sidewalk feature is coming soon. But it's still something probably to look to, that check it every so often. I didn't see
I just want to know why Amazon was like,
when
you know what?
so
Your friends need some
the
internet.
weird part about Sidewalk is they didn't actually give it a specific release date. I don't recall, unless you guys saw something.
I don't.
No, I haven't seen anything about release date either, which is another
but
frustrating
the-
factor because again, you have to opt out.
The ambiguous part of their launch of this, or their announcement of this, has said that it was supposed to be later this year. It's December, folks.
It's
Later
also
this year
2020.
means sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So you just have to pay attention to your devices. Check those settings every so often here in the next month or so, and see what happens somewhere between now and New Year. So, but we'll keep an eye on this. I'll probably throw something in here anyway when it finally does get launched. Anyway, if for everyone who needs to opt out of it, I know we'll be opting out of it here. So
You know,
Yeah.
I have to wonder if this is a ploy for Amazon to better their systems for delivery and
Mhm.
stuff like that. If it's not really
100%.
like it, because there's a 500 megabit limit. That's nothing. That'll be used in what, 10 minutes of streaming something in HD. So
Well, not only
Well, so 10 minutes of HD video streaming means absolutely nothing when it comes to, like, you're talking about doing 10 kilobytes of data in a single transfer of encrypted data to and from Amazon servers anyway over somebody else's connection for a camera or a light sensor, unless you're streaming the camera data, for example. But
not only that, you have to take into account that they say it's 500 megabit cap, but it's not necessarily a hard cap because they have a terms of service, which you read, and it's saying on average we will be delving into 500 megabits, but it could go over for X number of reasons. Like,
well,
just
that's
be-
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. I wonder
yeah.
what they're
They-
like.
the-
I don't
well,
think
the-
they
the-
care whether the people that are walking by your house have internet or whatever. I think it's more along the lines of they're trying to better their communication between their systems
Oh, 100%.
with probably their
Well, yeah,
trucks
the
that are
i-
going
the idea is
by,
that-
and they're able to save money that way.
yeah, I mean, the idea is that non-Amazon devices can't connect to this mesh, basically. Like the whole point here is that, simply that other people can get benefit from everyone else using Amazon devices, Ring and Echo devices specifically.
Well, and Mark's got the joke
Um,
right here in the document. They're trying to build Skynet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just trying to
Well,
build
yeah,
their
I
own
mean,
variation of it.
like they're trying to bring their communication networks essentially out to everyone so that, you know, they don't rely on the individuals to understand how their internet connectivity, how Z-Wave works, how Wi-Fi broadcasting works, and you know, range or throughput drop over range, and that kind of stuff. Like, you want to let your neighbor, if they have it figured out, whether it's by chance or on purpose, you know, to be able to provide the connection for you and for anyone else in the immediate vicinity who needs that added connectivity. It's mostly just a grab for them to pull more data and in under the veil of improving their services.
Mm-hmm. God knows they'll probably partner with State Farm, so they can go, like a good neighbor, you turn on an Amazon Sidewalk. State Farm's there.
I was wondering how you're going to make that work.
Got it. Please let us know what you think about Amazon Sidewalk in the comment section, floating below my beard. I got some weird in my mustache. What's happening? I'm dying. But I think it's finally time for us to move on to our final
Last
topic
call.
of the show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're all dying, so.
In the Buddhist sense of the word, that's correct.
Are you okay?
I have like something really weird going on with my mustache. Am I wrong?
Okay, Brett's having a stroke. I need someone to call Brianna.
Call Brianna now.
Do you smell burnt toast?
Maybe I just trimmed it weird the other day. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, time to move on to my
I think
topic
you're
of the
just
show.
weird.
I got a screwdriver. I'm not afraid to use it. Get it? Not the cocktail. Cocktail's right here. WB is we're going to be releasing all of its films onto HBO Max day and date in 2021. So all those films that are going to theaters will also be on HBO Max. This includes 17 major films, Matrix 4, Mortal Kombat re-release, as well as the Dune film. So these are some big titles there. On top of that, there have been a lot of reactions to this. AMC Theaters is, of course, very upset about this matter. They're talking about possibly not having WB films in their theaters at all, which I think is hilarious. Yeah, we got Judas and the Black Messiah. I don't even know what movie that is.
I don't either.
But Malignant. See, some of these movies I don't know. The Little Things, come on, who knows what these are? But Suicide Squad, The Conjuring's newest film, Godzilla vs. Kong, with some big titles. Christopher Nolan, furious about this, which is interesting because he actually worked with WB to have Tenet released in theaters during our pandemic in August of this year. But he is furious about it. He is stating that AMC is costing these publishing houses and these production houses money because of the fact they won't be making the money in theaters and they're not getting paid for this. Now, I don't know how true that is. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as to why WB
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Why don't they go the Mulan route? Make people buy essentially a movie ticket to watch the fucking movie.
See,
like,
it's not
That's
them
terrible.
making the money. It's AMC and them being mad they're not making the money.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
That's why I thought it was
AMC,
weird.
AMC I get, but AMC has to have some kind of realism to what the state of the world looks like and whether or not movie theaters are actually appropriate
They don't get
for what's going on right now. That's fine. That's fine. You know, but
they're looking at these movies and saying, man, these are blockbusters. A lot of these will make us a lot of money. You should delay the release of these until we can put them in theaters so we can all make the money that we need to from it. And WD, I'm sure WB is like,
so AMC essentially wants Warner Brothers to eat the cost of like holding on to the movie as opposed to, you know, releasing it up front and getting paid for it. So I don't know.
Or at worst, releasing the film and having it bomb, which is exactly what Tenet did, right? WB did release the movie in theaters. It is not on a streaming service, and that movie made no money. As far as I understand,
apparently made the most money of any
this.
movie this year.
Tenant box office sales.
I mean, in my opinion, with Mulan, for example, I think Disney made the right move of going ahead and re-editing or re-rendering the movie
for it was a little
for streaming platforms up front. I mean, we talked about the
outright. I think it was expensive, but.
I mean that's fine. Like we talked about the opinion on that 2-3 weeks ago, or however many weeks ago it was now. But I think that making the play for streaming platforms up front with the uncertainty of what the following year looks like is a reasonable move on Warner Brothers' part. I think that they're making the right move.
So I'm going to dive into the rest of this real quickly before we continue our conversation. So what has happened is apparently over the course of the last month, Warner Brothers shocked everyone by announcing, of course, that Wonder Woman was coming 1984, and they were compensated by HBO Max for a specific portion of that actual cost, right? So WB is not going to make the income of the theater sales, and director Patty Jenkins has confirmed this. They went back and forth. They did all kinds of negotiations and meetings to figure out what would happen, and Warner Brothers is going to eat some of the cost of the film to make this happen on streaming. However, they're still getting paid for that film, just like Netflix pays contracts for films to come there or series or whatever. HBO also pays to have things on there. WB does have a contract with HBO Max to make these films come out. They just won't make the same amount of money in theaters as they would otherwise.
Isn't WB owned by AT&T?
Yes.
Very well could be.
No.
They still
if it is, of course that makes sense. AT&T owns HBO, which owns HBO Max. So
by the way, Tenet
it's barely a contract.
Roughly $400 million to break even, and it made $36.1 million in the U.S. box office as of September 22nd. So we were a couple months after that. Worldwide, it crossed $280 million. Still not at that $400 million. So
Jesus,
like
I said, made the most money.
But that's again not understanding, I guess, the early bet or early hedging your bets on streaming platforms from that respect, or I guess against the global health crisis. So
yeah, you
made a bad bet on that one.
I think for one, while I enjoy Christopher Nolan's content, I think he is totally missing the buck on this, because you're right. We are in a global health crisis. It's continuing to escalate here in the United States. We're actually in North Carolina. We were talking about how we're going back into more constrictive rulings.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
ensure that people are not out in
we're
public.
getting
California.
I mean, as far as the U.S. specifically is concerned, we're approaching 300,000 cases or 300,000 deaths. I'm sorry, but that is definitely something to take note of, and take note of what the progression of any kind of health changes are going to be in the future.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like if you really don't anticipate, for example, that within the next 4 to 6 months, probably, that this is going to be over and everyone's going to go back to normal, which again, that's not probably going to happen.
Yeah.
You're probably better off, if you want to release these movies and make money on them, go through a streaming platform. Sorry, AMC, your business is built on the idea of brick and mortar, and the world is changing to online. That's kind of the way that the world is going at this point. Talk to GameStop. They're really hitting it hard over the last like half decade or decade. So.
Well, yeah, and that's true. I mean, the digital world is encroaching more and more upon the physical, but I don't see movie theaters going anywhere after.
Oh,
I think things will go back to where people are going to want to go out and see movies in these theaters. They're just mad because these movies, they're looking at the lost revenue potential, and they're saying that.
I mean, the lost revenue potential's already happened, and it's not because the movies aren't going to theaters.
Yeah,
that's not the reason. I mean, our own resident not movie seer, Dylan or Jaeger 3D. Anyway, he specifically talked about the last time he went to go see a movie in theaters, which ironically I think was Tenet. He said that whenever he went in there, it was like a total of 10 people.
Yeah.
In a movie theater that's probably built to house like 200, why? Like the numbers are low because nobody wants to go out and do this. It's not because the movies aren't showing up in theaters, and AMC can get mad all they want. But if the CEO is really getting mad at them or looking to pull their contracts or mess with anything as far as the way that the movies are released to them, they're just hurting themselves.
No,
nothing's going to change that. If the movie's in theaters or not, that's not going to change whether or not people go see it in masses like they used to before the pandemic hit.
What they should do is say, we're going to have, times for the movies that came out on streaming services like, Wonder Woman 1984, for example. We're going to have a theatrical release too. So After it's all been on the stream, come see it in the movie theaters if you want to see it on the big screen. It might not be for as long, but they'll still make some money, and there's going to be a lot of people that want to see that on the big screen.
Reduced capacity, sure. But the other thing too is AMC has their own streaming service.
Yeah. They're just mad
they couldn't
buck there. Yeah.
They could negotiate. Don't get me wrong. The majority of their money most likely comes from in-person at the theater viewings. Yeah. But you can keep yourselves afloat probably online, which you know, sure. Not the point of a business, but like I don't know.
They know that
maybe I'm getting a little too worked up over this, but like,
money, and they're saying we're swinging the only dick we have, and if you're not going to make money with us, that's a lot of money you're missing out on in the future. That's the only move they have.
Well, there's another move, which is to make your streaming service more robust. They just refuse to do so, and maybe they are in the background, and they're just feigning, or maybe not even feigning, but so much as putting
want to go
up.
With AMC. I mean, when they can go with their own streaming service they own. Keep the money in house.
They have a streaming service. They can negotiate for these films to be on the streaming service first, right? So you could say, hey, because Movie Pass is dead, but AMC has their own subscription service thing where you could go and watch a certain amount of films. You tie that in now to your streaming service, and guess what? You're first one to see Day and Date, Tenet, and all these other WB properties because we've put the money into it.
There's
and therefore
room
HBO,
to negotiate.
Amazon, everyone has to wait.
Yeah, there's room to negotiate those contracts. Like you're okay. Like we've already heard about movie theaters, you know, or movie theater companies like Cinemark and AMC coming in and negotiating contracts with some movie producers, like Warner Brothers being one of them.
By the way, almost every single blockbuster that Christopher Nolan has worked on is a Warner Brothers film. Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception, all the Batman films, Tenet, all of them are Warner Brothers films. So
Jesus. But I mean, I guess my thing is maybe he's just backing them up. But I guess my thing is that what was I saying before that? My brain got.
I apologize. We're talking about the streaming services and contracts and the ability to negotiate.
Oh yeah. Like they've already had negotiations beforehand about delaying releases of any kind of subsequent non-theater based launches for up to months at a time after it comes out in theater, but the idea that it would only come out in theaters or only be available to be watched in theaters for a certain amount of time. And then the idea is then after that, it's released on DVD and Blu-ray after that immediately. And then somewhere further down the line than that, suddenly streaming services get it. And that was the normal timeline of things. Well, the world's kind of shifted now. So I guess the question is that are they going to match that or meet that to... are they going to meet that to, I guess, match the times and what kind of dictates that now? I agree with Disney's choice on this of let's completely pivot from a theater-based system to a completely streaming-based system. Let's go ahead and do the re-rendering for the idea that it's going to be streamed in 4K or 1080p, over the internet instead of watched in the ultimate cinematic viewing experience, which nobody will argue that movie theaters have the best viewing experience of a movie with full surround sound systems, Dolby, was it Dolby, whatever their new system is.
Yeah.
And having a proper super high res projection screen in a dark lit room to be able to watch a movie. Nobody will argue that that's not the most optimal way to view it. But if the times dictate it, your business needs to pivot. Yeah, and I love coming back to the example of Kodak. Of the reason that Kodak is essentially nearly out of business right now is because they never pivoted for the digital age.
They had it.
Learn to deal with it.
Pushed because they wanted to keep making the money they were with.
Because they thought film wasn't gonna go anywhere. Sorry, look where we're at now.
Yep.
Yeah.
People are gonna voice their opinion, and someone's gonna fill in the holes of the market that are there.
Like the reason movie theaters have even been able to survive at this point with somewhat of a streaming platform is because of these exclusivity contracts of like when DVD and Blu-ray releases happen, live streaming releases also happen somewhere down the line after the fact or at the same time. But movie theaters themselves, from a physical perspective, were not touched. Now the physical world has sort of become someplace that nobody wants to be in because of a pandemic. Pivot. Change your contracts. Build your own streaming platform.
I for one
Make the-
applaud WB for at least taking the initiative to be like, guess what? We're not going to hold our films. Because John, you're absolutely right. You know, when we become comfortable, there's no reason for them to be like, by the way, you can now experience Wonder Woman 84 on full screen with Dolby Digital sound and everything you want in the theaters. Because guess what? People will go. I imagine we will go at some point in time. There's going to be a movie where I'm going to go, I wish I saw that in theaters. Now I can go.
Tenet was going to be one of them. Wonder Woman is
100%. And guess what? In another 9 months, when I'm comfortable, and I'm being exaggerative possibly, but maybe not. Who knows?
Who knows?
I'll go see it in theaters. But
vaccines come out tomorrow. 9 months doesn't sound that bad, you know?
yeah. Like, that seems reasonable. So maybe I'll go see it then, along with Wonder Woman. And you know what? Maybe I'll just spend a week going to the movies because I fucking miss going to the movies. I want to go to the movies. It's not that I don't want to go see your films. I just don't feel comfortable doing it right now. So can I watch it on a streaming service? Great. If I have to pay for it, I'll negotiate. I'm not comfortable with the $30 price point. I've talked about that before, but there's something in the middle we can figure out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can wait. If you have like, again, they're going like, well, they're just going to pay $10 and like 50 people are going to see this, you know, and it's like, but that's not the norm. You're going to have people who are just going to rent a movie like they normally would to watch it. So yeah, you might have a couple of people who are like, everybody crowd in my living room just so we could watch this thing in the middle of a pandemic so I could save a few bucks. Like, get out of here, dude.
Absolutely. So
dumb. How are they? So they're making contracts with HBO, and that's how they're making their money off of these movies.
You are breaking up real bad, John. You're gonna have to repeat that.
How is WB making their money right now?
So I think the expectation right now is that they are running a contract with HBO, right? HBO and their parent company are not just going to take that film property. They're giving them a percentage. They're just not making the same money they would make in theaters. And that's something that director Patty Jenkins talked about with Wonder Woman specifically, is like Wonder Woman had an expectation, if they're going off the last box office, to make lots of fucking money. This film has been reviewed by critics recently through streaming services, and they're very satisfied with this movie. This movie would have been bank in theaters, but they wouldn't have been able to. Like, it finished in March. They didn't want to sit on it. They want to put it out there. She also, as a creative, actually worked with WB to try and push for them to put it on streaming. And they eventually came to a conclusion that, okay, we're going to get this much money from HBO to put it on there. HBO is paying them, or their parent company, AT&T, whoever that may be. So it's not like they're getting no money. The difference is that they're not getting the box office money.
I guess the way I'm looking at it is like you're taking money in the right hand and putting it in your left hand. It's still the same amount of money within the same overall conglomerate.
Yeah,
but
you're talking about the body
to come in to help like build that. They think that they're going to get more subscriptions for people to watch these movies, or what?
Yeah, so you're talking about the body being AT&T in that respect. But I get it.
Those are all business contracts. We have no idea what they look like. I'm sure it's similar to PS Plus and all these other things where it's different between the contractor and the contractee as they continue to go forward. We don't really know the logistics. All we know is that WB is putting their stuff on HBO Max day and date with theater. They will still release in theater. They have said that if theaters are open, they will still put these movies in theaters for the people who want to see it in theaters. So
yeah, but I mean, I guess I like, for in that respect, I still understand AMC's somewhat frustration of like, oh, it's online and it's available in theater, so who's really going to come into theater to see it anyway? But my argument still is, who would have gone to see it in theater in the first place?
Yeah. Also, you could have been the streaming service. You have one.
Yeah, I mean, like if you guys had realized that this was coming and had taken the leap, you could have made yourselves a streaming service. Now, to be fair, from the Warner Brothers perspective, from the AT&T perspective, does not even make sense to try to negotiate contracts with Warner Brothers in that respect.
True, but they do have
HBO Max.
So here's the deal: is that most of these production companies have contracts with movie theater groups in order that they have to release a movie in theaters for a specific amount of time before it can go anywhere else. Universal got in trouble with this year. So all these
trolls
groups, trolls. All they had to do was go to them and say, "We have a streaming service. Just put it in ours for 31 days or whatever that time period is exclusively first."
Well, and remember that the contracts, because I know the three of us here are avid John Oliver watchers anyway. He talks specifically about movie theater contracts in one of his episodes anyway, where like a movie theater contract where the theater will sign a contract with a production company for a movie, but the idea is that there will be other movies that are tailed into that, for example, that the production company wants to push. But by the same token, there's also exclusivity of that specific movie, which based on that information tells me that the contracts are based on the movies themselves. If that's the case, then Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman, for example, being, I would consider them S tier movies, probably won't have contracts that already exist with AMC or won't be covered under contracts that already exist with AMC or Cinemark or any of the major theaters that are out there.
But again, you could renegotiate that contract. That's the point. You put yourself on the market. You want to make yourself viable. You want to last throughout this situation where you can't put people in actual physical seats. How do you do it?
But I will understand, I guess, from the perspective of AT&T's side anyway, where we already have a streaming platform that has really good quality 100%. On one side and movies that we produce from another subsidiary. A contract is almost an automatic thing between the two of them because we're the parent organization. Why wouldn't we do that? It makes zero sense for us to force ourselves into a ridiculous contract with AMC's probably subpar streaming service.
It would depend on the contract, right? Because you would still want to make money, and you're only making so much money from your HBO subscription service. You could arguably make more money, especially if you say, hey, we're going to AMC for 30 days, and then after that, I'll be on HBO Max. Well, the people who want to watch it will watch it there.
Right. And the other argument to be made, too, is that what does that do with the relationship between Warner Brothers and AMC?
100%. I think they're banking on the fact that AMC won't be around in a year.
The world will inevitably reopen. Yeah. And if AMC is around when that happens, and AMC is a pretty big company.
Yeah.
If AMC is still around when that happens, I mean, you're going to have a hard time if suddenly it's like, first off, Justice League, aside from Wonder Woman, like Justice League and a lot of the DC Universe stuff is, to be fair, against the Marvel side of things, is not quite up to snuff. Like, don't get me wrong, they're good movies, but I would argue that the MCU is arguably better from a film perspective, current gen.
Which is why I think WB is like, guess what? There's no fucking Marvel films because Disney's not releasing them.
Yeah.
They're not putting them on Disney Plus. They're waiting for theaters. Like, hands down, they won't unless they absolutely have to.
Mean, because if they wait for this, it only builds anticipation too. Correct. I mean, they might be making them a smart play with this, but they already have a really good product as it is too.
Whereas HBO Max goes, guess what? We'll release Wonder Woman on Christmas. What a great surprise! It's a decent film, right? Wonder Woman was
surprised
good.
They didn't do something like pay $10 to see Wonder Woman on stream or something like that.
Yeah, I am too, but I also understand because exactly what Mark's talking about. Like, at this point in time, they just kind of want to get some good fervor and they want to build some anticipation, and it doesn't cost them that much to move from one subsidiary to another, right?
I mean, it's Disney. Sure, they lost their parks and they may be like holding back on the MCU and other things, but Disney Plus is still making them a tremendous amount of money as it is.
If not more ever than it was with the pandemic.
Yeah, the other thing too is they probably have enough liquid. They probably have enough liquid capital to sit on for a couple years if they really needed to.
Yeah.
You're talking about the biggest.
Walt Disney is frozen underneath the park.
Well, and actually the other side
made out of gold.
Now I was trying to explain the whole Frozen Walt Disney Frozen theory to the girlfriend the other day. That was an interesting conversation.
She thought you were a very sane individual.
yes, exactly. No, but I think it's from Disney's perspective, they've got enough liquid to sit on for a while, even if they didn't need to, or even if they just wanted to. That sure, it might eat into their liquid capital, it might eat into their savings quite a chunk, but sure. The parks are closed and the MCU is down because they're trying to hold back on films. But ESPN is still making money because sports are still a thing now, especially since they figured out how to work that out in COVID on a per sport basis. So they're still making money. I don't. COVID. What's that?
This year for sports has been absolute trash for COVID. Like, you're not even having your starting lineup really performing. You have half the people missing.
But,
all of a sudden you have people. It's just awful.
Yeah, but I mean, the companies have figured it out too. You know, like the individual sports organizations have figured it out. But my thing is that I think Warner Brothers might lose out more in this deal in the long run, where Disney might see an opportunity, for example, with AMC to sign a contract with them, even during the pandemic, with no movies released, to say, you sign an exclusivity deal with us to only produce or only release Disney films or non-Warner Brothers films specifically. And we'll give you that MCU goodness. We'll give you all of that whenever the pandemic's done, or even before the pandemic's done, and we'll be good.
The only reason I don't think that's going to happen is because Disney also signs contracts with other theater groups, including Regal, right? Regal would be incredibly upset by that because of the fact that they are basically ginning up business for AMC over Regal cinemas. So they have to really do the dance, right? They can't just favor one over the other, even if it
No. I'm only saying AMC because they're showing up in the headlines as the CEO specifically coming out about it. But
I'm saying they can't target one group without targeting the rest. Are the rest as angry? Are they going to do the same thing? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, the idea is you present the same contract, the same like over the top contract to every single movie theater ownership group that's out there. Regal, Cinemark, and AMC.
Is that Disney acting on anti-competitive? You know, that would be a big question.
Antitrust.
No, see, in my eyes, that like they're not buying a company, they're signing a contract. That's a business opportunity.
But
your competitor has suddenly backed themselves out.
The
like
two major cinema groups can't show WB films. That's anti-competitive.
Yeah,
that's because Warner Brothers, or that's because AT&T or Warner Brothers, whatever, shot themselves in the foot themselves. And suddenly it's the government coming and go, whoa. Just because they can't walk doesn't mean you get to win the race, damn it.
That's not how that works, though, is because of the fact that Disney themselves is also a very large... Like, it'd be one thing if Disney was nothing, right? If they were like a small competitor, I could see your argument because they have to build themselves up to equate to WB.
Fair.
But they're fairly on the same page here. So you're saying, okay, well, we're going to maim one and then allow the other to continue? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's anti-consumer.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for. I kept saying... whatever.
To me, what Warner Brothers is doing is kind of anti-consumer to some extent if they're really trying to piss off their business partnerships. But
not really.
I get it.
It's pro-consumer. We get the best end of the deal. The only difference is like where the money is going to be going and where it's not going to be coming from.
Like I will say, with AT&T's media backlog across all of its subsidiaries, HBO Max probably has the best potential as far as an online streaming platform. But for experience purposes, anyway, movie theater goers, once the world reopens, will want to go back to theaters, which means streaming platforms will take a hit again, which means that AT&T is going to lose out, or Warner Brothers specifically, as a subsidiary, is going to lose out on this to some extent. And if...
Once again, now that the world's open, Suicide Squad's in theaters now. Wonder Woman's in theaters now. They're going to put everything in theaters.
But I guess the other question that comes into play too is like, sure, if Disney's going to hold on to MCU films until the world reopens, why doesn't WB do the same with DC films or other films?
Because they're behind. They need to catch up. They need the goodwill. And once it all comes back into theaters, they can throw literally every film in there. Whereas they know Disney won't drop every MCU film because they need the first one to garner enough hype for the next one. Whereas I guarantee you in August of 2021, we'll have Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, and whatever other DCU film that was in streaming is going to be open in theaters.
I have to wonder if this whole thing is a test. If they're just saying, well, let's try this. Let's do this. We'll get, if we can't get whatever it is they're going for, whether it's more subscribers for HBO, whatever the cost is, seeing if it's going to be worth the cost to benefit ratio to, you think about it, WB is using what their losses were going to be for a potential gain in another part of their company, their conglomerate, their corporation, whatever you call it. So WB is going to lose a little bit, but HBO is going to gain in subscribers possibly. Will it be enough to outweigh the losses? That's a possibility. And also, What if it hits off? What if this works? What if they figure out, well, you know what? If we do this, this, and this, we'll make just as much, if not more money than if we were going to be going with the houses. So screw you. We don't have to do that anymore.
I mean, it depends on how they do the releases, I guess. You're talking about releasing it on HBO. If they do a release, for example, where you have to pay for the movie, I think that's different. They could recoup a lot of costs that way, which is why I think Mulan.
Well, no, I'm saying the recouping cost is going to be from subscriptions.
I'm not even talking about that.
$15 that month to watch that movie.
The balance out here is, like maybe they do some interim thing of like if you subscribe to HBO, you automatically get access to Suicide Squad, or something like that. As soon as you subscribe during Suicide Squad's release, or before Suicide Squad's release, kind of like Disney. To be fair, from their subscription perspective for Disney Plus, they've been giving it out for free to tons of people all over the place. I mean, Verizon offered a free subscription. Like there are other like combined, like you can do combined subscriptions with all the other Disney services, for example, for
ESPN Plus,
Hulu and ESPN Plus. Yeah. Which I'm not going to say is great because I tried looking into it. You can't get the non-ad version of Hulu. So what the hell was the point for me? Like I can't do that, but
my time is important.
Time is money, honey.
That's right.
But I just,
without
them doing some intro thing like that, like a regular subscription to HBO Max is not going to be enough for people to join that and then pay for a movie. So they're going to have to come up with something that sits in between where, let's say it's free for the subscription if you buy the ticket to the movie essentially, or buy your access to the movie, but then it puts you on an HBO Max subscription.
I could just see a lot of people saying, like, I haven't really been using Hulu all that much. I'm going to drop it and have HBO Max for the next few months. And you're going to get millions of people paying $15 a month for that amount of time. Will recoup those costs that they're going to lose or what they would have made in the theaters.
Depends if WB actually gets that money back. But you know what the best part about 2020 is? Hindsight. We can check this out in a year and figure out just how right or wrong we were.
God damn it.
I hate you.
I'm here for you guys. Thank you. Please let us know what you think about WB's deal, putting all their streaming stuff on HBO Max. You can leave that in the comment section directly above me like a halo, because I'm an angel and I did that perfectly. But now I think it's time for last call. Last call.
See, I try to wait for John to ring the bell and you just don't do that.
But you can't stay here. I don't wait for no man.
No, he doesn't.
John should speed it up. Honestly, I look at John and he's just sitting there waiting for me. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to go. As you can tell, we are in our quarantine bunkers. Look at our pretty colors behind us. We'll probably be this way for another 6 months. We'll find out.
9 months. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm just putting out numbers now. I'm guessing, hoping. Dreaming. Of course, you could join our Discord where we have tons of conversation. 2077 comes out this week. You've probably already started playing it. We talked about it at the top of the show. You will have tons of discussion with other members of our Discord in the general chat, whether or not you like the game. Did it live up to your hype? Is it a 10 out of 10? Is it 7.8 out of 10? Too much water? Let us know. We do also have some weekly reading for this week. How one retailer is fighting PS5 scalpers. It's a great small article compared to what I normally put in here, so please check it out. I enjoyed it quite a bit. For our weekly deals, Humble is releasing another Your Sounds, Your Movies bundle. This allows for editing of sound in videos with some nice software. It's not the elite level software, but again, for a cheaper cost and also helping a good cause, you can get some pretty good stuff. Excuse me. To help, starting at $1, you get Magic's Music Maker $19.99 in-app voucher, a $10 voucher, and Music Maker itself, all the way down to the $25, where you get Video Pro X11, the Vegas Movie Studio 16 Platinum, and SoundForge Audio Studio 13. This is all in support of bringing light to Alzheimer's, HFC, and the American Cancer Society. So $25, you get what?
Monkey fucking a coconut?
That's not what I said at all.
No.
Cancer and Alzheimer's?
I heard MFC. Sorry.
HFC.
Oh, HFC. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a really inappropriate time to talk about a monkey fucking a coconut. For $25, you get
Christ.
multiple pieces of software as well as some sounds and some stuff. I highly recommend checking it out for some cool ass shit. We find a wonderful article from Kotaku about a streamer who is trying to find an entire shiny decks of Sword and Shield. So she is going through and playing them all. She found an extremely rare Synesty. Synesty comes in two forms. One is authentic and one is not authentic. The authentic one is incredibly rare. I think it's 1%. I think it's a
1
little
in
less than that, actually.
500,000.
Thank you so much. And she found it in the wild. It was a wonderful moment.
Yeah,
Wonderful
she was
moment.
flipping out, and I was like, "Man, why is this?" So? And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yeah. It's to be like, for context, I have a Square Shiny, which is 1 in 65,000, and I flipped out for an entire night with that. So her getting the 1 in 500,000, oh man,
Yeah,
that's career making. I do believe there's also another thing. The SNL parodies Eminem Stan while discussing PS5 shortages. This is a lot funnier before we dealt with the theft portion of it, and also going back and watching the actual music video for Stan, which is really depressing. But you should check it out because it's still pretty hilarious. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And finally, for our question of the week, have reviews from non-major outlets changed your mind one way or another on experiencing a piece of art?
So to
Games.
clarify, whenever you talk about non-major, you mean like from friends or from family or from just
Or
random
Twitter.
posts?
random tweets.
Yeah.
Just
Twitter,
like
Facebook,
IGN,
Instagram, whatever.
not official reviews from an official outlet, kind of thing.
So I can go right now. My
Do it.
Twitter recommendation was from Ryan Clements, Plum Cider, somebody who helped barely miss the co-founding of Podcast Beyond on IGN. He was a week late. But is a wonderful human being. He has been involved in video games for a long time, and he loves Final Fantasy 14. I love Final Fantasy. I've loved Final Fantasy for a long time. I've talked about it on the show a lot, and I have been hesitant to jump into this game because it's an MMO. It costs $12 a month on top of the $60 for the core game plus all the expansions. I actually got into a Twitter conversation with him where he was discussing how the newest expansion was the absolute, not just the best story of Final Fantasy 14, but the franchise as a whole. And I take his opinion to be highly regarded because he's played quite a bit of Final Fantasy. So I have purchased the complete edition. It was on sale this week for $30 on PlayStation 4 and have signed up so that I can start my adventure. So yes, I do that quite a bit. I'm hoping it's going to yield some good, stuff.
There you go. The one I had, I actually have a good and a bad. The good one was actually from you. You were talking positive on Dead Cells, and at first I was like, this just the way this artwork looks and the way that it just looks boring. Like, I'm not into it. And then he's like, no, I'm having a good time with it. Been playing what you were playing on PlayStation Now. I think you were starting playing on it.
Yes, that's how I picked it up.
And then we were playing it at the beach, and I got hooked, and I was like, "Yep, there it is." And I've been playing it nonstop, even on my PS5, even though I have other games to play. But then
to
I have
bounce
a
back to you,
negative where-
I was just gonna say, to bounce back to you, I've considered picking up the DLC because you picked up the DLC and you said it was pretty good.
yeah, it's different. That's for damn sure. There's enough difference in there to be worth it, I think.
Okay. Yeah. See, damn it.
The negative was Ruiner. It was another like kind of roguelike where it looked like it was a lot of fun. It got positive reviews officially, and I was like, okay, well, this looks like I might end up getting it. And just was on Twitter and realized that people were not having a good time with it. Like, they ran into a bunch of problems. They said that it was just kind of clunky. It didn't feel good, and I was like, I'm glad I just didn't do it. And based on what I read, I feel like I could have spent the money, but just didn't. Just because
it's super weird, man. I'm sitting here literally waiting on Cyberpunk to see what the mass believes, simply because I just don't believe it's going to live up to the hype that everyone wants.
God, man, the hype is so high for this. It's almost vomit level. And and I'm not doing another Anthem. I'm tired. Like, Anthem was a super letdown, and this feels like an Anthem to me. And I was like, no.
100%.
After Anthem's announcements and then seeing what the finished product is, I'm just gonna wait for official word on that or private reviews, to come out before I decide to buy a game like that. So
All these
Yep, I
people
agree.
coming out going, yeah, you guys you're lying, and I'm like, you haven't even played the game. How are you gonna tell them whether they're lying or not? Like, get over yourself. You get the fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
What about you, Mark?
They definitely have. And I think the biggest name that came out that I really didn't have any idea on whenever, like, and this is when I first started, I guess, with the current generation gaming at the time anyway, was Halo 3 with the Xbox 360. I
Okay.
did not go based on official reviews with that. I had no idea what the official reviews looked like with that, and it was entirely based on my friends. And actually, a lot of games that I purchased since then have entirely been based on my friends. You know, as far as like what games I've gotten into. But like I like none of it, like, and some of it's been in the respect of like Call of Duty, I guess, might be a better example in the sense, like, I'd played with some of the old Call of Duties before and thought, oh, cool, you know, these are old, you know, like games, that kind of thing. So Call of Duty 4, whenever it came out, I never really thought anything of it until I had a bunch of friends come out and say, hey, wow, this is great. You got to go check this out, you know, and this, that, or the other. We got to play this. We're going to play online, this, that, or the other. And I was like, sure, whatever, you know, I'll try this out. You know, I hadn't had great experiences from it before. And then suddenly I'm sucked into the entire Call of Duty universe, essentially. So, like it was interesting to see it start from Call of Duty 2, I think was the one that I played.
Black Ops 2?
No. Call of Duty 2, like PlayStation 2 level, like Call of Duty 2. Yeah.
The OG
playing that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, you know, like hearing on the Xbox 360 Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare coming out and being like, this is like suddenly the greatest thing of like the professional esports space. You know, everybody's got to check this out. And it's like, all right, yeah, fine, I'll play it, you know, like, and see what happens. And suddenly I latched to it almost immediately. The problem, I guess, with this kind of question too, is that almost everything that we do now is from official sources too.
Yeah.
You know?
But word of mouth is still important, and that's kind of where my question was stemming from, was like, you know, everybody can talk trash all about the reviews from IGN or, you know, even newspapers for books or movies and news critics.
GameStop gets a lot of flack recently.
Yeah. And I mean, no one is without their criticisms, and rightfully so. Everybody should be critical. That's what makes this fun.
Yeah, I think
I'm without my criticisms because I'm perfect, but thank you.
Yes, that's true. I agree. But the word of mouth is still super important.
Boy, shut up.
I mean, it determines a lot of buying power, and that's why I think, you know, keeping people happy and looking for, you know, keeping the masses happy and the word of mouth thing. It's like restaurants. A bad review from a person who had been there will spread like wildfire, you know, and the same thing with video games or any other entertainment piece for that matter.
Yeah. And I mean, it can spread across friend groups. It can spread across communities. It can spread across whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I mean, you bring up a valid point in this question, which is definitely 100%. You should be paying attention to your local, whoever that is, whether that's your own group, whether that's your own Twitter sphere. It doesn't matter, because you will be surprised at what you find from those individuals.
Everybody's got an opinion.
I mean,
love to throw it out there like everyone cares.
Never once. I mean, a little bit. We good? Until next time. Well, first you can let us know what your thoughts are on whether or not you've been. What is the most exciting thing, I would say, you've been introduced to because you took on another opinion? Let us know in the comments floating directly above my new painting I'll have to make. Cool.
Ooh.
Highlight
Yeah.
I was gonna say, let's check out your new painting.
Looks and until next time. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clank. You forgot the bottle.